So let's do the chanting straight away. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddhist way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayatam gati gati parasam bodhi swaha. Tayatam gati parasam bodhi swaha. Tayatam gati parasam bodhi swaha. Now time for some meditation. Initially to release the tension in the body. So get yourself nice and comfortable. And let's release the tension from the bottom to the top. So starting at the tips of your toes, releasing the tension from all around your toes and the bottom of your feet, balls, the arches, the heels, top of your feet, and around your ankles and Achilles tendons. And around your calf muscles and shins. And all around your knees. And upper legs. Around your midsection. Groin, glutes, hips. and your lower abdomen, just above your hips and your lower back. Further up your back to the center of your back, further up your sides and up the front too. And release from your chest, underneath your arms and your upper back, upper trap. I should say the rhomboid muscles and the lateral muscles, and then the upper trap muscles. And release from your shoulders, biceps, triceps, from around your elbows and forearms and wrists, hands, fingers, and thumbs. Now release whatever tension you may have on your neck, in the back of your head, and sides of your head, around your ears and temples. From all around your face, around your cheekbones, cheeks. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw. Release from your chin area and your mouth, both inside and outside. And your nose, sinuses, eye sockets, and eyes. Make sure you're not frowning on your forehead. And also release from the crown of your head. Now scan your body once more, very briefly. See if there's any leftover tension, and if there is, release it. Now bring your focus initially to the tip of your nose, and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs, then back out your nose again. Breathing in and breathing out, and focusing on the feeling of the breath. You can also add the extra technique of counting the breaths from 1 up to 10. If you get distracted on the way to 10, go back to 1 at that time, keeping the focus on the feeling of the breath. So if any thoughts arise or any other mental activity arises, don't cling to it or grasp at it. Don't try to force it away or deny it. But simply and naturally let it go as you replace your mind back onto your breath. And if your mind becomes dull, fluffy, sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. So now we can feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in meditation practice on the breath, and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness, great friendship, appreciation, respect, gratitude, non-violence, harmlessness, also forgiveness and acceptance. Comes under all of this comes under the umbrella of universal loving kindness, or metta, or maitri. Utilize the visualization technique of filling your whole being with the white light. Fill ourselves with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, radiating from our heart center, the white light, and entering into the heart centers of the beings in front of us, initially our loved ones, our family, our friends, filling their whole being with the white light, representing universal loving kindness too. Now also include those we may regard as strangers, which is most people. And do likewise, also having the wish that they are happy, free from suffering, and are peaceful. Now also include those we may regard as enemies, and do likewise. So now we can radiate this universal loving kindness, utilizing the white light, distance-wise now, further and further distance-wise, starting initially around your immediate area, to all sentient beings now, not just human beings. All the sentient beings that live on the land, under the land, in the waters, fly through the air, whether born from wombs, eggs, moisture, or through transformation. Whether you know about them or not, whether you have an affinity towards them, for them, whether you're indifferent towards them, or whether you're fearful or don't like them for some reason. Time now to give up these biases. Develop the mind of equanimity so that we can radiate the universal loving kindness and also compassion and joy out evenly, equally to all living beings. So now radiate this universal loving kindness throughout your whole state or county. And all of the states and counties throughout your country. In all of the countries throughout the world, as well as all of the bodies of water, such as the oceans and so on, and all the way down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. And I radiate this universal loving kindness throughout the whole solar system and all of the solar systems in the galaxy and all of the galaxies throughout the universe, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space, this immeasurable loving kindness, benefiting innumerable sentient beings all sentient beings. And now we will recite the dedication prayer, being in the present here and now. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So as you know, we're just starting the commentary on numerous Zen teachings out of Zen Speaks, Shouts of Nothingness. And this is the third week of introduction. There'll be another couple more. I think last week we actually covered about a third of it. So maybe another 3 weeks of introduction before we get onto the specific teachings. And so I'll resume from where we left it off last week. And once again, I'll add some things if I think it's needed. Otherwise, I think this is quite detailed already, so maybe I don't need to add too much. The medieval Chinese knowledge establishment. Chan arose in China during a period in which Buddhism was enjoying immense popular support, ranging all the way from lowly peasants to the nobility, and often reaching even to the emperor himself. Though it had its critics, Buddhism was championed by some of the most educated and elite members of Tang, the Tang dynasty, Chinese society, which was between 618 and 907 of the Common Era. In Chang'an, the Tang capital, the number and size of Buddhist temples and monasteries generally far surpassed those of the Taoist temples. These massive complexes were constructed by China's most skilled craftsmen from the finest woods and filled with beautifully carved or cast images of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. One catches glimpses of some of these images discreetly placed in the background of a number of Tsai Chi-chung's drawings. Elaborate and detailed paintings of Buddhist paradises covered the walls. Hand-copied Buddhist scriptures and commentaries, numbering in the hundreds and in some temples thousands of volumes, filled their libraries. The sounds of chanting and of the great temple bells and drums were omnipresent around these establishments. The smell of incense imported from Central Asia filled the air. These medieval Buddhist monastic complexes were truly centers of wealth, knowledge, and power, resembling, if not matching, that of the imperial palace itself. This is not surprising, since much of the wealth that went into the monasteries had come from the imperial coffers and donations from the nobility of Chang'an. Chan monks appear to have been peripheral to much of this power and wealth in the beginning. It might be assumed that religious knowledge, such as that set forth by Buddhists, though perhaps philosophically demanding at times, was otherwise a relatively simple matter, particularly when compared to the complexity of modern knowledge. But in the eyes of the medieval Chinese, who for hundreds of years were the recipients of what must have seemed an endless stream of Buddhist texts and teachings flowing out of India, it, no doubt, appeared utterly overwhelming. This knowledge dealt with a wide range of topics from a variety of standpoints that were often in conflict with each other. The problem was threefold. First, the texts had to be translated from Sarandic languages radically different in structure and style from Chinese. Second, once translated, the great number and variety of Buddhist scriptures made available in Chinese could be read only by the literate few, an exceedingly small minority. Third, Study of the scriptures revealed unexpected contradictions and ambiguities. There you go. In the teachings. China's Confucian traditions had long elevated the role of the scholar as interpreter of difficult and arcane knowledge. Thus, the obvious solution to this threefold problem was to create and fund research complexes within certain of the elite monasteries, in which highly trained scholar monks could translate, study, and interpret these scriptures. Many of the monks who devoted much of their lives to work within these institutes rose to the highest status within the Chinese Buddhist establishment. Their output was prodigious and highly regarded in elite society. These research complexes, rather than attempting to account for the entire corpus of Buddhist teachings, tended to specialize in one or a group of related scriptures, with a particular orientation distinct from those of other scriptures. Thus, monks became specialists in interpreting certain types of Buddhist teachings. It was also their responsibility to provide oral commentary on their scriptural specialities for the benefit of the general public, and particularly the illiterate. Implicit in their approach was the well-respected notion that a long and arduous course of scripture study would eventuate in an authoritative knowledge, if not the supreme goal of awakening. So they would study a lot, and it was believed that this great amount of study, the benefits would be that they would have great knowledge, if not already having enlightenment moments. But of course, it depends on the individual, doesn't it? If you're not practicing correctly, the correct methods, then it doesn't matter how many scriptures you read. You will only understand them on the surface and not really understand deeper, and therefore know how to really put these teachings into practice, how to practice the wisdom tools with them, to hear them or read them, to contemplate thoroughly them, investigate and analyze, and then to absorb your mind with it. Depends on the individual and whether they are practicing correctly or not. Just reading scriptures is not enough, because remember the finger pointing to the moon? That's just the finger. The scriptures are like the finger, not the moon. Okay, so not the ultimate truth itself. Just wanted to point that out after reading all of that to you. These monks were one of the dominant factions in the monasteries of Changang. Another powerful faction among the monks of Changang were specialists in particular technologies for acquiring Buddhist wisdom, less dependent on texts. These technologies included programmed visualization practice, by which mediators could project themselves into resplendent otherworldly realms, pure lands, and come face to face with spiritual teachers and bodhisattvas, or saviors, you could say, but not really saviors. We have to save ourselves, but bodhisattvas guide us along the way. Don't just want to attain enlightenment of a Buddha by themselves. Want all living beings to attain enlightenment of the Buddha, realize their true nature. The models for these realms generally came directly from the scriptures. So like visualization techniques, visualizing yourself in a pure land, even visualizing yourself as Amitabha Buddha or Sakyamuni Buddha. Not to kid yourself or not to puff up your ego, but to help you go beyond the attachment to the self, to this body, mind, so-called mind, who get closer to realizing our true nature. So the models for these realms generally came directly from the scriptures. Other monks specialized in the ritual technologies to be used on special occasions, such as funerals. Pilgrimage to distant sacred Buddhist sites and relic worship were also popular practices in medieval China. Outside the Buddhist establishment, a small but influential body of Taoists taught technologies by which the practitioner could bring him or herself into a vibrant state of physical health and well-being, a state regarded as necessary, though not sufficient, for acquiring the knowledge of self-transformation techniques leading to transcendence. These technologies for cultivating one's life energies, or chi, included, or in Sanskrit, prana, life energies included highly controlled dietary and exercise regimes, visualizations, the study of texts, and minutely articulated sexual practices. The heirs of this now fractured tradition can be seen among the Tai Chi Quan and the Qigong practitioners in most parks throughout China today. So Tai Chi and Qigong. With some imagination, they might also be seen in the aerobic studios and pure food cafes of our own time. Thus, the Tang knowledge establishment was a world of scholars, rhetoricians, visualization, and ritual specialists, and body workers. So that's the end of that little part. And just have a look how long we've got. 9 minutes. I think I should be able to get to some of the next part anyway. So hopefully you're getting a lot from this. I could stop after every paragraph and add some commentary, but it's best that I keep the main part of the commentary for the actual teachings. There's teachings within this introduction, but it's actually, most of it is just giving you a historical overview in a sense, but also giving you the sort of painting the picture for you to understand at least a little bit what it was like back then and how these teachings came about. So you could say why they came about, where, possibly, and when-ish, okay? So radical Buddhism, Master Huineng, the sixth patriarch, that is. Remember, Master Huineng gave the teachings, the sixth patriarch teachings, known as Sutra, the sixth patriarch Sutra, or Huineng Sutra. But traditionally, we say that sutras are from the Buddhist time, but the Chinese gave this because it's teaching on emptiness, Buddha nature, and so on. Very, very good for that time, for now as well, and exact commentary to the Buddha's actual words. Okay, so they call that a sutra. I tend to use the word teaching because of the tradition, going back to the Buddhist time. The sutras came from that. Of course, the word sutra just means scripture, right? Recorded teachings in writing, because there's also sutras in other traditions from that part of the world too. Okay, Huineng, also known as the sixth patriarch, 638 to 713 of the Common Era, has become in the law of Chan Buddhism over the last 1,000 years, perhaps its most popular and representative figure. He is conspicuously represented as an illiterate from South China, a country boy. His appearance and demeanor were so uncouth, in fact, that his master directed him away from the halls of scripture study and meditation to work as an ordinary laborer at the grinding wheel in the monastery granary. When it came time to pass the mantle of succession, in this case, a robe and a bowl, Huineng's master invited all the monks in the monastery to demonstrate their wisdom in whatever way they chose, so as to determine the individual most worthy. So taking over to be the next master, basically, lineage holder. The clear favorite was the monastery's head monk, Jingshu, a literate and highly cultivated man. He demonstrated his wisdom by means of a poem that he wrote on the wall of a temple corridor. The body is the tree of awakening. The mind is like a clear mirror. Must strive to polish it and must not let the dust collect. The poem is a distilled portrait of the Buddhist monastic impulse. The role of the monk was to strive through various practices, but particularly meditation, to free his mind from the defilements that distorted his view of reality. Ignorance thus dispelled, awakening would ensue. The other monks were duly impressed and certain that the head monk would be designated the master's successor. Immediately committed the poem to memory so that they could continue to recite it as they went about their monastic duties. Overhearing this poem, Huineng composed a poetic response that he had a literate monk record for him on the same corridor wall. Awakening originally has no tree. The mirror also has no stand. Buddha nature is always clean and pure. Where is there room for dust? So I'll just mention these two, recite these two back to back, okay? The body is the tree, a very deep teaching, okay? So maybe you can remember this one too. The body is the tree of awakening. The mind is like a clear mirror. At all times, we must strive to polish it and must not let the dust collect. Awakening originally has no tree. The mirror also has no stand. Buddha nature is always clean and pure. Where is there room for dust? So maybe I can do line by line. The first line, the body is the tree of awakening. The response is, awakening originally has no tree. The second one, the mind is like a clear mirror. The reply, the mirror also has no stand. The next one, at all times we must strive to polish it. The response, Buddha nature is always clean and pure. The next line, and must not let the dust collect. Where is there room for dust? So it doesn't mean there's nothing exists, okay? It just means there's no permanent self, no substantial self. So you could say the first one is a little bit like relative reality, and then the other one expresses ultimate reality. So just 3 minutes to go. I won't get to the end of that bit, but that's okay. So Huineng's verse called into question the most basic of monastic practices, including meditation, or more to the point, their motivation and purification of the mind. This so impressed his master that he passed the robe and bowl to Huineng, though in an atmosphere of great secrecy. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Maybe have a look at this teaching again, isn't it? So the learned monk, the body is the tree of awakening. The mind is like the clear mirror. At all times, we must strive to polish it and must not let the dust collect. So this is like saying we need to practice the Dharma. The mirror here, is like the mind, the Buddha nature. So he's saying that we need to purify the mind. We need to increase our good qualities, decrease the faults, eventually eradicate them, and uncover the Buddha nature. Whereas the second one, Huineng's version, is basically saying we're already pure, we're already Buddhas. We just need to uncover, to realize that. So yes, we do need to practice Dharma to remove the dust from the mirror. But actually, the mirror doesn't have dust. Because if the mirror actually had dust, truly had dust, we could never remove it. It's like my teaching on the window pane. You get a new window. You don't say, window plus dust. It comes to $100. The window is just a window. It's neither clean nor dirty. Just like the example here with the mirror. The mirror reflects everything that is in front of it, but it doesn't attach to it. So if you look in the mirror, your face doesn't become part of the mirror. The mirror sees everything or reflects everything, but doesn't hang on to it at all. So enlightened mind like this, knowing everything, but not attached to anything. Okay, I rejoice in your meritorious goodness as always. Keep your study, your practice, and your sharing of the Dharma pure. Continue on the Dharma path to realizing what is already there.